All right, welcome to the Daily AI Show. My name is Carl. You're joined by Junmi, Beth, Andy. Today is May 13th, and we've got another jam-packed episode today. I don't think, I know, because I recommended this show, is AI agents with your wallet, the future of autonomous spending. Now, I can go into this, but like, who wants to start this off? Because I know I picked the topic, but like, does anyone want to quickly do a quick recap before I go?
Uh, I'll take a shot at it. So, this is an announcement by Visa in partnership with a number of major technology companies. If it had been an announcement between Visa and Shopify, I would have been, you know, not as surprised as, oh, Visa's laying out a platform that doesn't include collaboration with any of the online shopping cart systems out there. I guess it's just they'll be relegated to the role of having to implement an integration with the Visa APIs that allow for in a protocol that's going to be developed by these multiple technology companies. Microsoft, OpenAI is involved. There's probably a list of others that you guys have in mind. But the idea of enabling a personal agent to follow some rules that you set so that you have confidence that your own agent isn't going to go awry and exceed your spending limits. That's one part of the equation. But the other part of the equation is certifying a transaction at the cart at checkout through the payment processors. And so this might bypass the e-commerce platforms entirely and go directly to the payment processors, just because that's all that's required. An agent can in effect imitate you in the browser and enter in all your details and trigger the transaction through the payment processor, whether that's Stripe or one of the payment card platforms themselves. And then that leads to my next point in this introduction, which is, if it's Visa, does it mean you have to use a Visa card? Or does the new Visa Intelligent Commerce platform enable your agent to use American Express or MasterCard or Discover or any number of other payment providers out there that actually have control over your credit facility? So anyway, then another point that I'm going to raise here is, just from a personal standpoint, I'm really interested in understanding, how this is being architected to prevent something taking over the agency, like somebody hacking my agent who has permission to use that and doing some very high speed transactions, so that it overwhelms the ability of the fraud detection systems that are built into the platforms that exist today to interrupt and decline a transaction because, oh, this agent has done 84 transactions in the last half a second. Wait, something's not right here. So there's so many angles on this, but the biggest one for me is, how does this cooperate with other payment cards, like particularly MasterCard and or American Express? So those three are the main ones that live in my wallet. And so I am often declined to be able to use American Express because of their high transaction fees. Commerce companies don't prefer you use American Express for that reason. And so they'll say, no, we only accept MasterCard or Visa. And so I have a Visa and or MasterCard waiting in my wallet for that occasion. So if I have the Visa Intelligent Commerce enabled on my personal agents, shopping requests, I guess I have to just pull that one out. And most everybody has a Visa anyway, so maybe that's not a great concern. But you can see there are a lot of things I still don't understand about this. And I'm looking forward to my colleagues explaining better, because they've probably done more research than I have. Because I haven't found this to be a real obstacle to my enjoyment of shopping because of all the other simple ways that online shopping makes it easy for me.
That sounds great. Junmi and Beth, any follow-ups or anything that you want to that stands out for you or things that you're thinking of?
Well, I think that Andy highlighted a point that I think will become like an inflection point that we will that it'll be really interesting to see when it happens, because as Andy sort of illustrated, the first of all, the pain point's got to be pretty high for people to overcome a trust factor in this, right? And what would be the pain point that would be that high, right? Like Andy's switching between Amex and his Visa or MasterCard. And that's not even a pain point to like just use Visa, MasterCard, right? I think I'm not sure what the pain point will be. I can suppose some of them, but I do think that is one of the things that we're gonna need to see. Like, how is this positioned in a way that is going to save people? I mean, is it time? Is it money? Is it opportunity? Like you have a 24-hour on bot with authorization to, I mean, I guess Jen, if Taylor goes on tour again, Taylor Swift goes on tour again, maybe this is like a use case for that. Yes, you have your 24-hour always on bot so that you can get tickets, but I like, for me, it feels like it's got to be that kind of moment, that kind of pain.
So Carl, maybe you can just clarify for me what is Visa's AI offering? I know we're talking in general about how AI is stepping in to do possibly, do purchases for people or for consumers. But what's the specific offering from Visa?
Well, I wanted to bring up both Visa and MasterCard because you can't say one without the other, right? Like, it's kind of an inevitability that, if Visa announces something, MasterCard would announce something, or vice versa, right? So I actually wanted to put up the video of Visa's CEO, but then I also found another video of MasterCard. So MasterCard actually announced Agent Pay on April 29th. I saw the video of Visa on May 1st. Now, I don't know if that video was on May 1st, but I do want to play a couple of them because the first one is the Visa CEO, and then the other one was a tech reporter reporting back on what MasterCard announced. I couldn't find a MasterCard CEO clip on what they were looking for. I haven't looked deep enough, but let's go with the Visa CEO first, because I actually play this now when I do prospect presentations, just to show how far agents have come. Because I think, like, I remember when I first started doing presentations on agents, it was more hypothetical. Then there was operator, which I can demo. But then now it's like, it's gone from, oh, I want you to do this, to I want you to do this, and now we can pay for it. Because I think the evolution was the first things that people always talk about is like, book my travel, right? Like, I want you to book, I don't know what it is, but it's book my travel. But you can't really book a travel without paying for all the things that's going to happen, the flights, the hotels, the vehicle rentals, if you're going to do that. So now you can. So that's, the foundations are being laid. That's what I always thought. So let's play up the yes, this one. Okay.
All going to have agents, and they're going to be able to go out and scour the world's inventory and find what it is that we're looking for, either for ourselves, maybe it's tickets to a hard-to-get concert, or as a gift, a hyper-relevant gift for my wife from Mother's Day. And what we've announced is a set of tools that give agents the capabilities to go make payments on your behalf. Think of that as AI-enabled Visa credentials. And also the rules and the capabilities that will provide trust. Trust that consumers will have in their agents, trust that merchants are going to have that they're going to get paid, and trust that financial institutions will have that you've actually empowered your agent to make those purchases on your behalf. So we announced AI-enabled Visa cards. That's going to allow you to give your agency, giving them your Visa credentials to go buy something on your behalf. But we also announced important capabilities, things that enable you to set parameters and tell your agent, how long do you want them to go look for something? Maybe those concert tickets we were talking about. How much are you willing for your agent to spend? Even to designate specific merchants that you want your agent to go look at and not go look at other merchants. So it's the products, it's the capabilities that are going to give you and everyone else trust that your agent is going to go buy exactly what you're looking for on your behalf.
Okay, so that concert, what year are we talking? How are we going to start to see the companies embrace the fact that I will have an agent that will go out scouring and buying on my behalf?
Yeah, you're going to see this in months. You're going to see this in the next couple quarters. We announced a series of partnerships with all of the leading players in this space, with OpenAI, with Microsoft, with Anthropic, with Perplexity, with IBM, with Stripe, with all of the key players that are building out the infrastructure to enable this type of buying and shopping experience. So it's going to be here soon.
Okay. So I think there's a couple things that even that video just got me thinking even further, because that does upend, even the concept of agent keeps upending the way that we interact with businesses, businesses interact with businesses. I think on the surface level, we're looking at, oh, I can allow my agents to go, buy whatever I want, set the parameters. I think the biggest piece here provides the trust, because for the longest time, you're like, okay, am I going to allow this thing to just buy whatever it wants? And what if it doesn't buy, what if it buys the wrong thing? Or how about businesses who are being visited by agents? How can we trust that we'll actually get the money, or these people are good for it? And I think it's now with Visa, MasterCard, and it's inevitable that every single major card will have some sort of agent rolled out within the next year, 2 years, 3 years. When we have those foundations set, the way that we not just interact with businesses, but the way we promote our businesses is different too. I think we've been talking on the show for quite a while now. When it's not just you setting up your website or wherever your place of business is, not just setting up for a person visiting. It has to be set up for an agent to visit, and it has to be seamless, right? So a lot of the things that we set up today for humans, there's certain reasons why we set that up. There's certain reasons why we put gates on things. There's certain reasons why we set up the designs and so on. But then the thinking is, how do we do that for an agent that doesn't care about certain things? If people say, I want you to only visit these 3 places to buy this specific thing, then the question is, how do you get to be on those 3 places? Because that changes how you, quote unquote, market to an agent. And this is why, again, Y Combinator had the call for startups of B2A, business to agent. And that changes how we start doing things, and I don't have the answers. I don't know. I'm sure people are starting to think of, if I was a DTC, direct to consumer, how would I market to a direct to consumer agent to buy sunglasses? Because I'm like, hey, I need sunglasses that kind of look like this. I need it to be under $80 because I use it for sports and I break it all the time. I need to do this. I want you to visit Riders. It doesn't exist anymore. Blenders, something else. How do I crack that 3 that people are automatically sending our agents to? So that's one part of it. And then how do you advertise to an agent? You like the old habits of Google AdWords, display ads, meta ads. That doesn't kind of track, because those are all visual. Those are, enticing something to do something. But as an agent, what parameters does it really care for any of that? So interesting there's a lot of interesting things that start thinking of when you start doing online business transactions, or even it would impact in-person business transactions too.
Well, I got two things here real quick. Number one, to talk about, to expand upon what you're talking about is, is it even a matter of breaking those three, right? The customer behavior this is sort of like how Amazon is now, right? Everybody just goes to Amazon. They got an Amazon app. It has everything you could possibly want. It's right there. Do I even think about going to a specialty, site or a specialty shop for the thing I'm looking for? Unless I'm very particular. But is the most is the behavior most often going to be, here are my parameters, find it for me, right? Not I care that it's come from company A or company B. I just need some sunglasses and I need it to do this thing, so I think that might be a larger question of, customer behavior and how is that going to change with more with personal agents out there. And then the second thing is, I noticed in that clip, I'm assuming that's the Visa CEO, right, who's talking about this. He said trust like 4 times, right? Like that's their key. They have, zoomed in on that one word because they know that that's going to be the key. Because what they're asking for is to spend your money or have access to your financials out of your hands and into something else, right? Something else is going to be making those decisions. And that's the point that I would probably bring up as the biggest concerning. Like Andy, you talking about how where do we get, or what will it take to get us to that point of trust? I mean, it's one thing to give a specific instructions to your agent to operate, to use the existing systems, and that's versus the out of sight, out of mind. I said, find the right sunglasses, buy them, and have them shipped to me. And then now supposedly I can just say, and don't spend more than $20, So I'm assuming the intention here from the Visa side of things and the company side of things are to lower the amount of steps. Like this goes infinitely beyond the one-click solution, that Amazon came up with. This is the spend my money for me kind of thing. And, I'm sure any early adoption is going to be an uphill battle, just because, most people don't have any money. So I don't want to give that control to somebody else or something else to do that. I'd be very wary of it. Right. So I mean, so that's kind of the topic I wanted to focus on, or get the rest of your input on that. So how do you think that can actually be solved?
One of the aspects of trust in this platform is that Visa's saying that the actual card information is tokenized in the AI version. And I guess the implication there is by using some set of tokens as part of the stream rather than the actual card information in the transmission, it's more secure. So somebody can't swipe your card, in effect. No pun intended there. So physical cards, remember, you had to swipe them. But now I often will say, oh, damn it, I can't find my wallet, when I'm having to go out and shop or whatever. And then my daughter will remind me, well, it's on your phone, right? Because I have Apple Pay, I have Google Pay. And oh yeah, I don't even have to have the card anymore. I've already loaded it into a digital wallet on my phone, and I can tap my phone on the card reader, and that's good enough. And so I don't even need to remember where my wallet is anymore. Now, the reason I mention that is because many of the sort of impulse agent-oriented purchase missions that you're going to launch with your AI agents are going to happen from the mobile device. And how is this pre-authorized, application of the Visa Intelligent Commerce agentified capability? How is that different from having a mobile device with my agent accessible on the device and asking it to go ahead and conclude that transaction using Apple Pay. So it has, I've given it, access to my phone, but with Apple Pay, I've got to double click on the right to authorize the final payment, right? Or I can, with my agent, I can say, look, I want you to go find it, but as soon as you've got everything teed up, I would like to look at it, and then I'll authorize the final transaction, and then you conclude it. So that kind of confirmation interrupt that you want to put into that sequence does reduce the convenience a little bit, because Junmi wants the sunglasses simply to appear, sometime later, and he'll either be delighted with the result or he'll send it back. And that's a huge hassle because it requires that I go and drop them off somewhere at least. So I'm not sure. I know that this is going to end up, being the reality going forward, is that we'll have agentified systems, both on the payment processing side, led by Visa and the technology companies. There'll be advances in your mobile device wallet that will allow agents that are living on the device, which is a little more secure way for an agent to operate than having it be able to self-replicate and inhabit all of your devices. Those things are going to happen. And I think that some smarter people than me are thinking about that carefully, including all the major tech companies that are involved in the Visa initiative. So I see it coming, but I'm not sure it's really going to dramatically change my life. I doubt that, in part because I like to do the research myself. I mean, I like to see what the alternatives are and make a choice. That could be, when all is said and done, that only a certain niche part of the population wants to absolve themselves of any involvement in the selection process and instead delegate that to an agent. Why? Because they're so busy, they can't find the time to enjoy looking into and deciding what the best option is for me, which I can already do with some deep research capability, and I'm enjoying the assistance there. But I'm a little dubious about being able to say with confidence, oh, I chose to use O3 deep research, and it's been satisfying a few times before. So I'm just going to authorize my agent to do an O3 deep research, find the right thing that, based on what it knows about me and my preferences, because I've enabled it to have those kind of personalizations, and go ahead and conclude the transaction. And I'll worry about whether that was the right choice later or not. I'm always second guessing, the choices. There's buyer's remorse out there. And so there's a complex user experience question still open in my mind about whether this will really be something that people employ for things other than order me toilet paper.
Well, but that's a fine example, right? So I set the agent and say, when toilet paper is being sold for $5 off, get 3, right? Because ordering toilet paper is not something that is a problem if you buy the sale and then have to store somewhere, like buy the grapes or those other kinds of things. Gareth had a really interesting point in the chat. If there's a setting where I could buy local, that could really change this, right? So is there a local option that is within $2 of my final thing or $5 of my final thing? Like, you'd be able to set that parameter. Because then, Carl, for like, how do you break those top 3? You're now like hooking into people's like sense of community. Yes, I want to do this, but then we get into, do you have stock locally? Like that needs to ramp up, I guess. But it could be like, it may be a bring Main Street back kind of situation, at least for some kinds of physical products.
I think the one thing that sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I like the idea of having the local toggle, but it doesn't answer or it doesn't address the biggest benefit of doing local, and that's to not have to be locked into the system. So, all right, everybody, if you want to buy local, use cash and go to the store or go to the farmer's market. That's going to be the best way to do that. But of course, you know, this whole concept here is about quicker, faster, easier, less thought, less headaches, lower barriers. I think one of the things that would help adoption, if that's their goal, don't necessarily know if this is a good thing or not, but is the approach to what all of these systems eventually do, right? It's all about smoother transactions. It's all about moving this information from point A to point B. This is all about changing what the stats are on the spreadsheet, right? So, and then the logistics part is just to get the end user the product, right? The easiest thing with Amazon is it's right there. You can buy it, one click, cool, moving on next. You'll get it in a day, depending on what it is, right? So this I see as an extension of that, where it's a matter of, hey, I need or want this. You're going to make it super easy for me to get it. There's less I have to think about. But if that's the case, if everything's just about moving this whole system, turning the wheel, then I think maybe an adoption approach that Visa payment providers and everyone can take is to approach it from the purchase is going to happen, right? They don't care who really is making the purchase. So if there is some sort of conflict, because I don't think there's a high enough level of conflict, loss, those kinds of things. There's plenty of credit card fraud because it's taking money from the customer. But if all of these systems are as automated as possible, then you don't have to worry about that so much. So to get to my point in a roundabout way, have auto returns or auto resolution. Oh, I didn't buy that. Click. All right, cool. That's refunded to your credit card, because if you don't have, that's a trust layer that you don't have to worry about. And what the possible amount of loss you're actually going to get is much lower since this is all interlinked already. There's less input points where a bad actor can insert themselves, because it comes down to what the product is. Did I get the product? Yes, no. No? Okay. Flag. Yes? Okay. Is it right? No. Okay. Did you make this purchase? Yes, no. No? Okay. And then it's a matter of checks and balances on their whole system, and unusual activity then gets flagged and investigated. So I've done a lot of work with Stripe in the past, so I kind of know the system. I kind of know the experience on both sides of the Stripe experience. So, but I find that if people don't have to worry about how easy it is for them to make a dispute, then there's going to be a bigger adoption for these kinds of technologies in this payment space.
I think there'll be a lot of starts and stops just because it's new behavior for everyone to learn. And I think from a behavior aspect, just what I've been seeing the last couple of years, just what I've been noticing too, it's really pronounced that people there'll obviously still be those early adopters, but you need a huge chunk of people to actually make those changes to start seeing what the businesses will be doing to make the changes. Because if you have only 5% of your customers making agent-like purchases, you're not going to change too much. But it starts when you start getting into 20, 25, 30, 40%. Then you'll start seeing the bigger changes. And then how many people, the trust thing is a factor. it won't be until people are like, hey, that agent can do a better job than me.
Right.
And right now, I don't, there's some things they can, but I guess for direct DTC stuff, business to customer, like a lot of that stuff is more of like very, very personal preference. And I'm curious to see if B2C will again lead the way to B2B, because will businesses have their agents go out and scour for whatever thing that they're looking to connect to buy, which has a big impact? Or could it be B2B this time around leads the way because it's a little bit easier, but maybe because the buying is so much more complex, the agent's not going to go out. If it's a simple product that has a monthly cost to it, maybe. But if we're talking more enterprise level, anything that's over $25,000 a month in purchase, I don't think you can just arm the agent, and maybe you will. It's like, oh, go buy that one, go buy that one, go buy that one. It's like, why did you just spend $200,000 a month on whatever? And then June me, I don't know if it's like, yeah, so you're gonna refund that.
Hey, look, if the consumer, if it's all consumer focused and consumer built, it'll work itself out, right? Because that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants smooth operation. They want reliable, repeatable, sustainable revenue and transactions. That's what the system is being built. It gets larger and larger because they just want to move numbers around, right? At product in the end, move product in, out to customer, and move the numbers around and just make it reliable, right? So they can determine things for the future. But what you were saying and what Beth brought up gave me an interesting thought, and I want to know I want to know how you would run with this, or if you think is viable. So Beth, you had said like, oh, when toilet paper is $5 off or whatnot, right? And that got me thinking, well, couldn't you just tell your agent, right, to make purchases when a commodity, right, or a stock, if you will, is at a certain price range, right? You buy that, then since you can B2B or B2C yourself, you could probably do this all within the Amazon ecosystem right now. It's arbitrage, right? You buy it when you know it's $5 off, and then you sell it for $5 more, right? And if this is something that your agent can do, this is something your agent can do for you. This is the purchasing power that your agent has access to. And it's just looking for these deals and turning around to resell it at their normal retail price. Is that a new form of digital commodities trading? Because your agent can do all of that for you. It has that larger capability. So is this an example of what we could see from, what do they call that? Mega couponing or super couponing? Right. And then just turn that back. I know this is kind of a off topic a little bit, but I think it highlights the what we're not seeing or necessarily paying attention to when you bring AI agent enabled purchasing power. What are the more fantastical things that you can't do now that you can now do with your agent?
So I think that's really interesting, and the trust factor is key. If we go back to Salesforce, that was Salesforce's main message for the first several years, and still comes out, right? Because at that time, you were trusting the crazy idea of taking all of your business IP and putting it in the cloud that nobody had any, like, why should I trust that? So I think the message is really key, like on point, that Visa CEO. But Capital One is my bank, right? And so Capital One has a Capital One shopping and a plugin, and so it says, hey, you're on this site, if you go through Capital One shopping, you could save $2.61. And I rarely save $2.61 because like that's just too much decision spoons for me. Like, no, it needs to be a higher value than that. But if if my bank comes to me and says we're going to try this, we give you simple, didn't buy it, return it, no, right? So it gives me that assurance. Do I now allow that to happen? Do I now, like, I don't want to see the thing. I don't want to I don't I don't want to have to click somewhere else and like do stuff. I have authorized this particular thing. And Carl, to your answer, are you now just marketing to the source of the credit card, to Capital One? And so these are the deals that people who go through that get. Now you may be like giving me something that is at least interesting enough for me to pay attention to. I do agree with Justin that like who's buying what in this economy right now. So like there's that kind of factor too. And I do kind of trust my bank, right? Like it has my assets in it, right? Like, so there is a level of that, and they may have the margins to be able to take some hits while trust is being built up in that kind of context. I still think it needs to be paired with a delivery system. And like, I think there's a relationship between Instacart or like a Uber delivery system or something like that, that will match. It doesn't have to exactly match Amazon, and I like the local piece of this, but I think if it comes through the banks, that's something that could help, because the banks also have the ability to say, hey, we saw you do this. This is your balance now. You could have saved $17 by going through blah, blah, blah. Right?
Well, that's a great point to highlight, because this kind of goes back to the advertising concept of what we worry about searches, right? And Carl, I know you've mentioned this several times, is with these transactions, will there be an opt-out toggle that you will have to click to opt out of the preferred vendors? For most people, if they don't care where it comes from, then that becomes a sale point or value point for Visa. Is, oh, if you join our premier vendor list, then our AI agents will access you. And is that part of, I mean, we don't know yet, but that could be part of, from the vendor side, do you want to enable AI agents? Oh, okay, well, the percentage is higher then, right? You got to pay us a little more to take advantage of AI purchasers and things like that.
I think remembered when Apple Pay came out, and I don't know how, I honestly don't know how many people use their phone to pay for products. I don't know. I still see a lot of people using credit cards. I still a couple people using cash. So I don't know what the numbers are there for, but you're right, because it's going to cost something to make the transaction, right? So it's like, oh, if you pay by cash, you don't have to do this, but if you pay by credit card, you have to do this. Like, there's a fee or whatever to run the device. Is there a device? Is there some sort of infrastructure that needs to happen? Both MasterCard and Visa announced this, but I don't know what their fee will be. There has to be a fee, right, to set this up and to be able to use it, to get the verification. So what percentage is that is either just accepted by the company, or will they pass it on to the users? I have a feeling they'll pass it on to the users because it's pretty novel at the moment, until more mass adoption, which will take a little bit longer. So, and I think too, goes back to the point, right? It's still we won't know what this will mean until there'll be more and more people adopting it. It isn't just a few, it isn't people like us that would just, oh yeah, we use agents to buy our stuff. Like 5%, 4%, 3% of all our purchase are AI agents, and we won't, like, it's one of those things that we won't know until there's bigger adoption. And I don't know how long it'll take people to make the switch to an agent, because right, even the switch to using AI is slower. Imagine now you're like, oh, forget again back into our AI bubble when you start telling people, oh, even more skeptical, even more cynical, even more, yeah, I'm not going to do that yet. A couple of people will, and it'll take some time, right? It's like, oh, more and more and more. Or I don't know, like I use click and collect, like at Superstore for us. It's like, because when you go into a store, you just end up buying a lot more just because it's all over the place. But if you actually like Superstore click and collect, you're just like, okay, this is what I want. This is our meal, whatever we have for the week. And you're not stuck in the store, and it's so much faster. I always thought that what's going to happen is eventually most people will stop shopping because it's faster to just park and somebody put the groceries inside your car. And now I've seen in Superstore, like the parking stalls, the number of stalls for that has doubled. But when I say doubled, it went from 4 to 8. Still, the majority of people walk into the store. And the fee for the shopping is only $2 to $3 if you get it delivered 5 to 6. So it's really not that much. And technically you are saving because you're not buying any extra stuff that you end up buying whenever you go to the store anyway. So I always thought that would be, if you think about it, that is much more convenient. You selecting online at home, you go, but the adoption hasn't been as widespread. Maybe it'll be more and more. So that's what I'm thinking with agents. Same thing. It's technically faster for you to do it, but the habits that people have ingrained, the trust and all that just takes so long.
Right.
Well, but that's a perfect example, right? Like, this is interesting, this is convenient, this is good, but you only have to get the bag of like just barely still apples once.
Yes.
For that trust to be like, no. Right. So, okay, now I'm just getting non-perishable things from you, but I'm going to go pick my vegetables by myself. Like, yeah, Jimmy, what were you going to say? Because for me, this is that kind of thing. It's so risky.
Yeah. I mean, well, my thoughts were leading from the, the on-ramp of adoption. Right. So we know that this is going to take a while, and Visa's got to know that this is going to take a while. Is this too early for, I mean, they're talking like you're going to have this in a couple of quarters, right? You're going to have this in 6 months, or 8 months or so or whatnot. And so is this Visa's attempt to get ahead of a wave that they are predicting? Right? Because I was just thinking the idea of, if transactions are so easy now, and Visa's the lead transaction processor in the world, is this getting ahead of alternate transaction processing? Now, it might have been a little too early, and one of the hurdles of blockchain transactions, right? Cryptocurrency, things like that, is that digital currency has been the implementation. You have to get the wallet. You have to set up the keys. You have to create the account. You got to move money from fiat into crypto. You have to do all of these steps, which of course did not make it easy to move to that payment processing. Right. And that was one of the foundational selling points of crypto. And then it, changed when people saw that they could, do certain things with it. But the idea of it being a more advanced or more supported decentralized payment system, and with the advent of agents being able to handle all of that process for you, right? So you don't have to worry about the transactional steps and all that kind of stuff. That can be all verified by the agent. Is this Visa securing its place as the world's payment processor? And because they've had their own, dives into crypto, and we know that, there's other forces pushing for nationalized cryptocurrency and things like that. Is the two technologies now ready to converge and be at a point where we can now have decentralized payment processing across the world if we don't lock ourselves in to the existing monoliths, right?
So I think this is likely to appear in a way that we haven't discussed yet, which is not exactly, I'm going to have an agent one day, or I can buy a subscription to a shopping agent and give it my Visa authorization, basically, so it has access to the Visa Intelligent Commerce System, which is going to, at the outset, limit the number of retail outlets I can actually apply it to, because it appears that this requires some integration on the back end. But if you're already accepting Visa cards, maybe that's a one-click thing for most e-commerce companies, and they're wise to do that sort of advancement of their payment processing. But the way I think this is going to appear first is going to be in ChatGPT shopping. Why? You've got a huge global audience using ChatGPT. What we mean by agents is just, the combination of an AI that can be instructed and can have access to tools and use those tools in the digital environment or in the real world. Okay, so agency just adds some capabilities to an intelligent model that they can actually take actions. Well, this is the one action that we really want to think carefully about, which is, okay, finalize the payment and the completion of my shopping and so on. So the fact that both OpenAI and Perplexity being another major model that's focused on search, right, shopping search, that they're involved in this with Visa, but Google is not, right? That opens some questions in my mind. Like, what's Google's take on this whole thing? Are they going to adopt Visa Intelligent Commerce within their Google Pay systems and enable Gemini search and enable agency for Gemini shopping search to conclude the transaction? Or is that going to be ChatGPT and Perplexity are like the shopping search agents that you can use just within the $20 a month paid subscription that you have?
But
or maybe they go to the free layer, because if you sign up and you have an account with OpenAI or Perplexity or Claude, and all of those companies have collaborated with this Visa Intelligent System, you can get a shopping agent, right? Your account will be enabled as a shopping agent. So now I can go to the voice interaction, say, here's what I'm looking for. As long as you can find something within $75, go ahead and order it. That requires development of trust, as we've been discussing. You have to do some experiments at the $10 range first, and then your limit will go up and up as your confidence increases in the sophistication and reliability of the shopping agent that you've empowered with this system. But anyway, my central point is, I think, because you see OpenAI making a land grab right now in shopping search, and Perplexity had already attempted that, but kind of failed on the completion of the transaction side, by my experience. and they'll fix that over time. But now you've got some major players in competition with Google trying to get to the shopping search thing, and Google and Amazon as well, because many shopping searches just go directly to Amazon now. They don't require Google, although even if you do your shopping search on Google, you're going to see a lot of Amazon options there. So it's all coming together. But this is fundamentally a friction reducer in the shopping search competition, because that's the initial impulse that you have as a user is, I decided I need this thing. I don't want to spend the time to go through the purchase process. So I want to just ask a shopping search agent to go ahead and conclude that task.
Okay. I think that Google not playing in this right now, I don't think we should read too much into it, because they're just like still untangling their browser, the court case that they lost about Chrome. And it seems to me to like start to like get into a place where, okay, well, we're gonna let you browse with everything, but now we're gonna totally control like the means of payment. I think that might be part of the reason that they're not a super active player in this, because that just seems to be like teeing up another court case. But I wow, what a really interesting conversation.
So I'm going to close the show today. Thanks everyone for joining us, especially all those in our stream. If you haven't had the chance or opportunity yet, please subscribe to the Daily AI Show YouTube channel. We also have a newsletter that we put out once a week. Love to have you there. We'll also promote our community in our Slack channel. And we have a pretty good set of shows the next couple of days here. Obviously, we do our news roundup tomorrow. Then we're on to Thursday. Is AI helping or killing sales with hyper personalization? I think that's going to be an amazing one, led by Brian. I think from that sales perspective, it really touches on what we talked about today, because when you're talking about sales, like, okay, how do you pay for some of this stuff in terms of B2C and then as well as B2B, and how do you hyper personalize to an agent? Not quite sure. And then on Friday, we do our bi-weekly recap. So thanks to everybody for joining us, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
Aloha.